Welcome to our channel, a place where secrets are revealed, emotions burn like fire, and hidden truths break free from the shadows. Here, every story is raw, intense, and filled with the kind of drama that grips you until the very last breath. In today's tale, we invite you to step into a world of betrayal, obsession, and fury, a world where the fine line between love and hatred is shattered in a single devastating moment. This is not just a story, it is an emotional storm, and once you enter, there is no way back. Andre's world imploded the instant he saw Bill leaning in and pressing his lips against Dani's. It wasn't just an act of betrayal, it was an unforgivable declaration, a theft of loyalty and affection carved into his vision with the sharpness of a blade. For a few seconds, time itself seemed to halt, and in that silence, Andre's soul split apart. He felt the cold stab of humiliation, the sting of dishonor, and the corrosive rise of rage that filled every vein in his body. His fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles whitened, the veins in his temples throbbed, and the quiet around him turned into a deafening roar of inner chaos. The image of Dani, not pushing away immediately, was what carved the deepest wound. She, the woman he believed in, the woman he placed above the wreckage of his past, the one he thought would stand by him through shadows and storms. She let that kiss happen, and even if it lasted only a breath, it was enough to burn everything they had built to ash. Andre was no longer just hurt, he was hollowed out, stripped bare, and left only with the poison of fury. The days that followed were relentless torment. Andre could not sleep. Whenever he closed his eyes, he saw the kiss again, sharp and cruel, looping endlessly in his mind like a curse. He woke drenched in sweat, his chest pounding, rage igniting before the morning even began. Every word Dani had ever whispered to him, every smile, every promise, now they all seemed like lies cleverly disguised as love. Bill's laughter, his easy charm, his false brotherhood, all of it revealed itself in Andre's mind as a carefully constructed mask, hiding a snake waiting for the right moment to strike. Andre felt stripped of his identity. He was not just betrayed as a lover, he was betrayed as a man. His pride, his dignity, the core of who he was, had been spat upon. The betrayal wasn't only emotional, it was a direct challenge to his strength, his authority, his ability to hold control over his world. And Andre was not the kind of man who could accept humiliation. He could not forgive. He would not forgive. From that seed of rage, obsession began to grow. Andre found himself drawn to the thought of vengeance. He studied Bill in silence, memorized his patterns, his weaknesses, his every careless mistake. Each observation fed the dark hunger growing inside him. Bill was not just a rival, he was prey. And Andre was no longer a man with a broken heart. He was a predator sharpening his claws, biding his time. Yet, Dani remained a wound that refused to close. With Bill, the anger was sharp and direct, but with Dani, it was twisted, complicated, unbearable. Andre still loved her, he hated her for making him love her, but he could not let her go. His feelings became chains wrapped around him, pulling him in opposite directions. One side wanted to protect her, to claim her back, to erase Bill from existence so that only he and Dani would remain. The other side wanted to punish her, to destroy her as she had destroyed him. Love and hatred entwined into a single, monstrous force that consumed his every breath. Dani, sensing the shift, felt the temperature around Andre change. The warmth that once radiated from him was gone, replaced by a chilling silence, by stares that lingered too long, by touches that were no longer gentle but carried an edge of possession. Her own guilt gnawed at her, but fear kept her silent. She told herself it had been nothing, a mistake, but silence became her prison, and every day that she failed to confess, the wall between her and Andre grew higher. Andre, meanwhile, was spiraling deeper. He was haunted not just by the betrayal but by the fear of becoming powerless. He felt as though everyone was watching, whispering behind his back, mocking him for being blind, for being weak. His pride screamed that he had to act, that he had to make an example of Bill, that he had to seize Dani so tightly she would never slip away again. In his reflection, he no longer recognized himself. His eyes glowed with a fury that made even his closest allies recoil. The confrontation was inevitable. One night, Andre cornered Bill in a deserted place. He didn't need words, the silence was louder than anything. His stare was lethal, his body radiating raw violence. Bill understood instantly that he had crossed a boundary that could never be mended. In that silence, fear crept into Bill's chest, but it was too late. Andre didn't strike him then. He didn't need to. The promise of what would come was written in his eyes, and it was more terrifying than any blow. As for Dani, the walls closed in on her. Andre's shadow loomed larger every day, and she could feel herself trapped between her own guilt and his silent judgment. Each look he gave her was a verdict. Each moment they shared was a sentence passed without appeal. She began to feel like a stranger in her own life, suffocated under the weight of her own betrayal and his ever-growing storm. The story built to its breaking point on a stormy night. Rain lashed against the windows, thunder cracked the sky, and inside a dimly lit room, Andre stood before Dani. No words passed. No explanation was needed. His rage had grown beyond language. His silence was a force of nature, pressing against Dani, freezing her where she stood. She trembled, knowing there was no escape. The kiss that had lasted only seconds now demanded a lifetime of consequence. Andre's heart pounded like war drums, his chest rising and falling with each labored breath. His eyes, once filled with tenderness, now glowed with something unrecognizable, something monstrous. Dani understood in that moment that there was no forgiveness left in him, no warmth, no mercy. What stood before her was not the man she loved, but a man broken, reshaped by fury into something far more dangerous. The storm outside screamed, but the storm inside Andre was louder. He no longer saw Dani as the woman he had once cherished. He saw her as the trigger of his downfall, the spark that ignited the fire consuming him. And with that realization, Andre stepped closer, each movement deliberate, heavy, final. That was the moment everything shattered. The story no longer belonged to love, nor to betrayal, it belonged to destruction. And you, watching from the edge of this chaos, have only glimpsed the beginning. The darkness is spreading, the walls are closing in, and choices more devastating than this await. What Andre does next will shock, break, and consume everything in his path. If you dare to follow where this storm leads, stay with us. The fire will only burn hotter, the secrets will only grow darker, and the betrayals will only cut deeper. Subscribe to our channel and be prepared, because the next twist will leave you breathless.